What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a complete shelf tour for you guys. I'm going to be walking you through every single shelf back there in my background and showing you what the shelves look like right now in 2026. I always like to give an update around this time. I've done this for the last couple of years and I think it's interesting to see how much the shelves change in just a year. And this year it's going to be a really big change because I have made a drastic change to this middle section here, and I want to show you guys what it looks like, give you guys an update. I'm also going to try to call out any of the new releases that were added to the shelves over the course of last year in 2025, as well as bringing up some releases that are back there that I still plan to get rid of. But this is what the shelves look like right now in 2026. So let me know in the comments section if you have any questions, if you want to see a closer look at anything back there on the shelves, if you have any recommendations for future videos that I could do covering stuff that you see on the shelves, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll talk to you in the comments down below as always. But let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and jump into the tour. All right, here we are, guys. I've got you on the handheld and here are all of the shelves. This one over here hasn't changed too much. This is still the Criterion shelf, almost all the way down. There's a few other things down there on the bottom shelf that I'll show you in just a minute, and some stuff on top, which we will probably start with. This middle shelf right here is the one that has changed the most, so we'll definitely be talking about that for most of this video probably. And then this one on the far left is still the colored shelves, so we'll start over there right after we talk about what's on top. So just like last time, I have a mix of box sets and books, but I've got a lot of new box sets this year. I started working with Imprint Films last year and they've sent me a few really cool box sets that I'm keeping up there on top. But first, we've got my TCM Turner Classic Movies film book collection. A lot of these were given to me by my good friend John Malahai, who has written 2 of the books. And then Grace and I actually picked up a few of the books to get them signed when we went on the Turner Classic Movies cruise last year with John. So the TCM Imports book is new, the Dark City Dames book is new, and the original Dark City book is also new. Both of those we got signed by the author, Eddie Muller, which was pretty cool. Then we get into the box sets. We have The Keep right here, this massive limited edition box set of The Keep from Imprint. That was definitely added last year. It just came out last year. And The Neverending Story also added the very beginning of last year. That was the first of the giant box sets that we added to the collection. And then we have Dune and Kill Bill as well up there. Not sure how many of those I'm going to hang on to. I might be giving some of those up. I might have to sell some of those. They do take up a lot of space, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep The Neverending Story. I really like that one. My daughter loves that movie. And I might keep the Dune and the Keep box sets as well. It all depends on how much space I end up needing. This is a new edition. This was given to me by John. He just moved recently and he had no room in his new place for this gigantic John Ford box set. I had no idea this was this big. I had heard about this, I'd seen it on eBay, but I had no idea that it was this massive. It is a huge box set. It's extremely heavy. I now know why those are so expensive on eBay, because shipping that would be a nightmare. It's extremely heavy. So thanks, John, for that. I would like to make my way through that at some point. It's 25 John Ford movies, including another documentary disc, and it's got like a book inside and everything. It's a really cool set. Maybe I'll have to show that at some point on the channel. Then we've got some other box sets, some gift sets that don't really fit on the shelves, like the 10 Commandments set, the Wallace and Gromit set, the Incredible Hulk TV set back there, and then the Ben-Hur set. One of my favorite pieces in the collection is this Tales of the Four Seasons set from World Cinema Library. It is the only release I have from World Cinema Library, which is one of the Asian premium boutique labels. They put out incredible stuff, but it is impossible to get, and when you do find it on eBay, very, very, very expensive, usually $200 plus, $300. So that's the only one I have, because I really, really like Eric Rohmer. But I do hope to find some other ones in the future. And there's the limited edition release of The Conversation that Lionsgate put out last year. That is a very special release for me because Lionsgate actually won a Clio Award last year, And when they accepted their award in the Dolby Theater, which is where they hold the Oscars, they played my video as they were accepting the award on the giant screen in the Oscars auditorium. So that was really cool. That was actually a fun surprise. They didn't tell me about it. I just heard about it from a friend who happened to be in the audience that night. Here is a Curzon box set for Wim Wenders that is too big to fit on the shelf. And then I've got my Criterion box sets over here, starting with the 3 films by Louis Malle set. There is the Carl Theodor Dreyer set. You got, of course, the Ingmar Bergman box set in the back, the giant Ingmar Bergman set, and then the giant Criterion Designs book. There's the classic Alfred Hitchcock box set, and then we have the Adventures of Antoine Doinel, the new, or not the newest box set up there, one of the newest box sets up there, but we also have the Wes Anderson Archive, which is a brand new box set that just came out at the end of last year. So I've got all my Criterion box sets up there. Now let's go ahead and get down and look at the rest of the shelves. I should go ahead and say, this is the big change we made. In the middle, I now have all of my boutique labels. So this channel has changed a lot over the last couple of years. I've really started focusing on boutique labels. That is where I have most of my interest these days. That's what I'm collecting. So I've made the channel mostly about boutique labels, and I wanted to separate them out and really let them shine. I've grouped them all together within their own label, and we will talk about them one by one as we go through. But all of these standard studio releases are over here on the left still. I still have quite a bit of studio releases, but not as much. I mean, the boutiques are taken over. I've got twice as many boutique labels as I've got standard stuff over here. But over here, I've still got quite a few like family movies that we watch with the kids and some of the movies that Grace and I really like. Most of what I'm watching is boutique releases these days, but I got to keep these to watch with the kids and to watch with my wife, like Christmas movies we've got to watch every year, certain other holiday movies, and just some of our favorites. So we'll go through quickly and show the colored shelves. I think we've seen most of all of this stuff before. Not a lot of this stuff is going to be new. So we'll go through quickly. We still got the Casablanca box set. That is just the Blu-ray set. I don't have the 4K yet. I would like to upgrade it at some point. But this is such a beautiful Blu-ray set. Some crazy intricate details they did with that die cut on the front of the slipcover. And there's a lot of cool little extras inside there as well. At some point, I would like to upgrade to the 4K Ultimate Edition that they released in the UK. If I can find that for a good price, I'll probably upgrade and then sell that Blu-ray. But for right now, we just got the Blu-ray version. There's my Karel Zeman box sets from the museum, the Karel Zeman Museum in Prague. Really like those. Still on DVD because most of these, all but 3 of these, are still not available on Blu-ray. All we have is DVD. I really would love Criterion or maybe Indicator, one of the other labels, to do a really nice Karel Zeman box set. That would be amazing. That's a dream wish list item for me. Some of our kids' movies, Disney movies, some DreamWorks movies. The new SpongeBob 4K that Barnes & Noble sent me last year for their Paramount sale is up there. Also, Once Upon a Time in the West, that's a new Paramount 4K that we got in the sale last year. What else is up here? White Christmas and Christmas Story, new 4K Christmas movies. White Christmas was also in that Paramount sale. Beautiful 4K, we watched that this year. Or last year, I guess, end of last year for Christmas. One of our favorites that we have to watch every year. I don't think any of this is new. I think all this stuff was here last year. We got Best in Show, which was sent to us by Sean, friend of the channel, has sent us several items in the past, and this is now one of our favorite movies to watch together. Grace loves Christopher Guest movies, and we watched that. We've watched it twice already. We rewatched it again on Thanksgiving because it is a dog show movie, and you've got the big dog show after the parade. This was added last year. This is Song of the South. We had to get the Italian, I guess technically it's a bootleg because it's not sanctioned by Disney. I don't know how the rights are, but for some reason Italy was able to release that. It's a pretty nice release. It's got a nice slipcover and it also has a booklet in there. So that's the first shelf. Then we got the second shelf down here. We'll get to the reds in just a minute, but first we have a little tiny brown section. And on the very end, this is a new one. This is Green Mile. We've picked this up at Orbit DVD last year when we went to the actual physical Orbit store. And this is a really nice release. That's a UK release. This is what I'm talking about with the Warner Brothers UK Ultimate Editions. For some reason, they don't release these here in the States, and I really wish they would. I would love to collect those. We got the Wizard of Oz one that I'll show you a little bit later, but that's the only one they released here. All the other ones are UK exclusives. They look really nice. They've got a lot of extras and a booklet inside, and they're all 4K. I really want to get the Amadeus one. There's a couple other ones like the Casablanca one that I really want to get my hands on. Hopefully, at some point, I'll find those for a good deal on eBay, but they usually sit around $100 or over $100. So those are wish list items for me. Those are holy grails. There's like a Singing in the Rain one. There's a Willy Wonka one. There's a bunch of really cool Warner Brothers movies that I like to get at some point. Hopefully someday that'll happen for me. And then we've got some older releases here, Disney stuff. Sideways, I gotta call out, one of my favorite movies of all time. Please, Criterion, please give us a release of Sideways or Arrow Video, somebody. Here's a Universal Essentials collection for Big Lebowski, another one of my wife and I's favorite movies of all time that we always watch together. I think these were a couple years ago now, but we got these Mondo steelbooks for a couple MCU films, just a handful, and I had hoped they would release more here. These are also UK exclusives that they re-released here in the States, but I guess they didn't sell very well because they only did those for that first wave and then they stopped. Same thing with these, the Universal Essential Collections. Those, we got one wave, maybe two waves. We got a couple of them and then they just stopped and they never released any more. I hope they do more of those because I'd love to get some more Universal films in that premium boutique, like hard box style of a release. There's a little Vinegar Syndrome partner label release, The Dog Who Stopped the War. That's a Canadian kids film. They had this whole series of Canadian kids films that they played on TV a lot. And I hope they do more of them. They've done a couple. I got a few of them and showed them to my kids, and they really enjoy those movies. The Christmas Martian is another one that we'll get to down here in the green section. Speaking of Vinegar Syndrome, we've got some really nice Vincent releases here. This is an AGFA release for Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which I watched for the first time with Grace this year over Christmas, and it was a ridiculous movie, a hilarious movie. It was really fun. And actually, what's even cooler than the movie itself on here is they included a bunch of other like Christmas animated shorts and specials. So this is a really nice release. I highly recommend you track this one down. Perfect Christmas fare to have on in the background when family's over or to just watch together as a family. That one's really fun. Another winter movie that is perfect for that season is Hundreds of Beavers. What an underrated movie this was. I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about it, but still, this is a really, really, really good movie. Was not expecting to enjoy that one as much as I did. I actually watched that for the first time last year on my birthday in January and ended up picking the Blu-ray up right away because I liked it so much. Also some other Vinegar Syndrome releases. We've got Red Island right there. So I do still have some of the smaller boutique labels mixed into the colored shelves over here. I don't really have enough of that stuff to fill out a shelf over here on the boutique shelf. So those are still mixed in. So you'll see those kind of peppered throughout as we go through. There's another one right there with 5-card stud. That's just a straight up Vinegar Syndrome release. Then down here on the next shelf, we've got a few more orange releases. This one right here is one of my favorite releases in my entire collection. This was a gift from my wife, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the limited edition from We E.T. collection, which is another Asian premium label. Those can be very expensive, but she got that for me, and I really appreciate it. The Betty Boop collections are new. These were sent to me by subscriber Sean, who you guys may see in the comment section. He's usually pretty active down there. He sent me all of the Betty Boop collections from Olive Films. Olive Films is another boutique label that has sadly gone out of business, so there won't be any more releases from them, but they had, I think it was Deep Discount, was having a sale on some of the Olive Films stuff that was still in stock, and he put together a really nice box for me. So I really appreciate that, Sean. I love classic animation. We've got some other Disney stuff. Jason and the Argonauts was released from Viavision, which is technically related to Imprint Films. Imprint Films is a series within Viavision, which is the overall company. I've also heard it pronounced Viavision. I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is. They only sent me 2 Viavision releases, though. They haven't offered me anything else. They still work with me with Imprint, but I haven't been getting any emails about their Viavision releases. I got that one, and I got Dracula, which we'll get to down here in the blue section, but I really thought those were cool, and hopefully I can get get some more of those releases in the future because I like those quite a bit. Here is the DMC exclusives from Disney Movie Club, which has now also gone out of business, so we can't get any more of these. I'm gonna have to hunt these down on eBay, but some great stuff in there. I'm so happy that they finally released Make Mine Music and Melody Time, because those are very important to complete my Walt Disney Animation Studios collection. Also, Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros. Three Caballeros is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. It's top 5, so I need to have that on Blu-ray at least. And we've got a couple of my wife's favorite movies in here as well. Swiss Family Robinson is one of her favorites that she grew up watching, and also Cool Runnings. She showed that one to me. She grew up watching that one with John Candy. She loves that movie. One from my childhood is The Love Bug. I watched this with my grandma growing up. Really cool that they put that out. I'd like to get the other Herbie movies at some point, but I only have the first one right now. And both Parent Traps are great. So that's really cool that they released those as well. There's another Olive Films release, 2 of them actually, from Sean. He sent me High Noon. Very thankful for that. That just got a 4K actually from Eureka Films. And then also Yours, Mine, and Ours, which was one that my wife grew up watching. So I think he saw that in her wish list, Amazon wish list, and sent that to her. So that was really nice of him. This, one of my favorite releases from last year, The Bloody Lady. This is, and other works by Victor Kubal. This is an animation collection, a bunch of his animated films. I think most of them are short films, and The Bloody Lady is a feature-length film. I watched through the entire set. I didn't get to cover it on the channel, but I would still like to at some point. It would have made maybe my top 10 releases of the year if I ever had made that video, but I never got around to it, just got too busy. There's another really cool release from Film Movement. It's Classics. That's the Marquis of O, which is an Eric Romer film. I really hope they release some more Eric Romer films from this label, because he needs more releases. His stuff is really hard to get your hands on. That was actually sent to me by Jeffrey Patron in the comments section. So thanks so much, Jeffrey, for that release. That is awesome. I can't remember if I traded him for that or if that was a gift, because we've been doing a lot of trading recently. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into the end of the green section here. There's Christmas Martian, which I mentioned earlier, which is another fun kids movie. It's a French-Canadian kids movie, but there's also an English dub. So my kids enjoyed that version. Although I thought the French version was better. I think the sound design on the French version was much better. There's another Betty Boop. That is volume 3. Another Olive Films release, Father Goose. Grace really wanted to check that one out. She's been on a Cary Grant kick and watching as many Cary Grant movies as she can. Still love this Karate Kid box set. That's one of the coolest releases that a studio has ever done. You've got the hard box. You've also got 3 slipcovers inside. Don't know why they did such an amazing release. Sony, out of nowhere, they don't usually do that anymore. They usually just do a steelbook and call it a day. That was a really cool release, and I would love to see them do more stuff like that. There's the volume 4 of Betty Boop, and some Disney movies, some of our kids' movies are in here. And then we've got another release from Canadian International Pictures, Buster Keaton Rides Again. That is one that I traded with Jeffrey for. I've been doing some trading recently, which I really like doing. If there's something in my collection that I don't need to hold on to anymore, then I can pass it on to someone else who will enjoy it and get something that I want in return. So if you guys have anything that you want to trade, let me know in the comments, because there are definitely some holy grails that I am looking for. There's a new 4K steelbook for Rango that I added to the collection last year. Really cool steelbook with a slipcover. And that's not even Lionsgate, that's Paramount. So really cool for Paramount to put out a release like that. And then getting down to the blue shelf, we've got just, you know, some family movies, some kids movies. Like I said, this is most of our family stuff. Grace got this last year, the Footloose 4K steelbook, which is really nice. Layla and the Wolves was a huge discovery for me last year. Really enjoyed this movie. It's from a brand new partner label from Vinegar Syndrome called Several Futures. That's a limited edition of that release. Very cool. There's the Dracula set that I was talking about earlier. Nice lenticular Dracula collection. I think it's 4 films? 4, maybe 5 films if you count the Spanish language version of the original Dracula. And then there is the rest of the blue section. Moving into the purple, this is a brand new release. I got this for Grace for Christmas, the Ted Lasso Complete Series. Very happy that actually Apple put that out. It's not a show that I love, but my wife absolutely adores that show. And now we don't have to pay for Apple TV anymore. We can just watch that, because that's pretty much the only thing she watches on there. Stardust is a newer Steelbook. There's that Guardians of the Galaxy that I mentioned earlier with the MCU Mondo Steelbooks. Then we have the rest of the purple section, the little tiny pink section, and then some of the gray section, but not all of it. We've had to start moving stuff out of here because the shelves are completely full at this point. We do have a couple Vinegar Syndrome releases right here with Phase 4 and Brimstone and Treacle, another discovery last year. Really enjoyed that film. That is great. Here are my Walt Disney Treasures collection, and most of these I've had for a while, but I did add some new ones last year. I picked up the Davy Crockett complete series. I also picked up the Spin and Marty complete series, and then what was the last one we added? Was that it? Just those two? No, we had the Disneyland USA, which I popped in and started watching. That is really interesting. It's actually a live broadcast that they put on television as they were like opening the parks. I don't think it was the first year. Maybe it was the first year. But that was really cool. It was like in the 1950s when they were showing that on TV and everybody was tuning in. But like I was saying, I've had to move some of the stuff underneath. So you see I've got these cabinets down here on the bottom that we had installed. And that is for some of the clutter and mess down here. So I've got just some of the gray sections, some of the black section that just can't fit anymore on the shelf. I've put down there, and there's some of it in there as well, and then underneath the Criterion collection. So moving stuff out, I don't know what the final end goal is. We're probably going to have some stuff in another area of the house on a different shelf for more of the standard stuff, because I'm assuming what's going to eventually happen is the boutiques are just going to take over completely, and the shelves in my office will be the boutique shelves, and we'll probably end up moving the kids' movies either in the playroom upstairs or in their bedroom or somewhere more like a family location, maybe downstairs by the theater. But for right now, they're filling up the shelves in here. But I do have plenty of room to grow for boutique stuff. We'll just have to start moving this stuff out eventually. Let's get into the boutique shelf. This middle shelf, I really like how this turned out. I decided to change this just a couple weeks ago because I wanted to put more focus on the boutiques, and I wanted to kind of keep them all together so I could kind of see what I have from all of these boutique labels. And it's kind of nice to see it all next to each other so you can see what you got, what you maybe want to get rid of. I want to start selling some stuff. There's some stuff here that I don't need to keep. So this is what it looks like right now. Separated out by label. You're going to see which labels are my favorite, which I have the most of, and a lot of UK labels. I really like the UK labels. I think they're doing the best work right now, so I do want to highlight those. But we'll start up here with an American label. This is A24, which is pretty much a boutique label at this point. They've been putting out a ton of releases over the last year. They just started at the beginning of last year. I remember when Barnes & Noble reached out to me and said, hey, we're starting to sell A24 in stores right now, so can you help us announce that? And I did a great video, and a lot of people were excited about it, and they sent me a lot of these releases. I think we already had Marcel the Shell, but they sent me all of the other ones to showcase here on the channel, and that was really fun. And then over the course of last year, they just pumped out those releases. There are way more than this now. I don't even know if I have half of them. They've been putting so many of those releases out. I can't even keep up with them anymore. But I really like these originals that they did. Before they started doing the colored barcode releases, they started doing these taller ones. You got Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Green Knight, The Lighthouse, Last Black Man in San Francisco, Stop Making Sense. My two favorites are Stop Making Sense and The Green Knight. I really like those releases. We've also got Midsommar. So yeah, those are great. Hope they do more of those. They just did the X trilogy that's about that size, which looks really nice. Don't know if I'll pick that one up or not. But then we've got all these colored releases here. We've got After Sun, The Brutalist, showing up, We Live in Time. I'm showing you the back side. Let me get over here so you guys can actually see the covers. Sing Sing is a great movie from last year that I really enjoyed. This is a movie that I did not enjoy at all. That was a really boring movie that made no sense. But we have the Lamb release, which I really like. Like that one a lot, so I'm going to be holding on to that one. Some of these I will be passing on. I'll be selling. That one right there for sure. That one's terrible. But we do have The Zone of Interest, which I'll be holding on to. That's a great film. And then we get into our Arrow selection here. We've got not the biggest Arrow collection. They don't put out that many titles that appeal to me, but when they do put out a movie I'm interested in, I'm very excited because they do such a good job with their supplements, special features, packaging, restorations, the whole deal. They do a really good job. We've got 2 Claude Chabrol box sets right there, Lies and Deceit and Twisting the Knife. We've got the first, or actually this is volume 2 of the Fassbinder series. Rainer Werner Fassbinder, Volume 2. You can see I still have them in color. Grace thought it would be a good idea to put them in color for now. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick to that. I'm thinking about maybe eventually switching to spine order. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but they're in color order for now. Grace talked me into doing that, and I think it looks okay, at least for the Arrow video releases. They look pretty nice. These 2 right here, 2 standout releases from last year. Wild Style, released just at the end of last year, and then Miss 45. One of my favorite releases from last year. This would have made my top 10. I had such a good time going, I don't know if good time is the right word, but I really had a great experience going through all the supplements, reading through all the essays, and watching that movie for the first time, and watching it again with a commentary. Such a good movie. Highly recommend it. Abel Ferrara movie. The Cinema of Conflict release from Kieslowski is such a cool set. Last Emperor is a new release. This is the 4K from Arrow Video. Not a new release, but new to me. We found that also in Orbit DVD when we went to visit the store. We've got the Marx Brothers release. Love that set, one of our favorites. This is Fassbinder Volume 3. The Tin Star, I think I added last year to the collection. That's a really fun Western. Enjoyed watching that with my parents, actually. My dad loves Westerns, so we watched that one. We have 8 Hours Don't Make a Day, which is a really nice out-of-print Arrow Academy set. I don't know if I ever talked about this on the channel. I don't think I did. I got this for Christmas. This was a gift this year from my brother, who got me that. Another Rainer Werner Fassbinder box set. Eric Romer set, one of my favorites. Fassbinder Volume 1, The Apartment. The Decalogue I added, I think last year? I think that was last year. One of my best finds ever on eBay. So glad I got that for a good price. That was one I was looking for a long time. And then of course we've got the Ninja Turtles set, one of the most talked about releases from last year from Arrow Video. I had such a great time with this. I went to Barnes & Noble during the sale. I picked it up. I let my kids grab it off the shelf, and then we went home and I showed them all 3 of these movies over a weekend for the first time. They had never seen them. Blew their minds because they love the '87 cartoon show, so they got to see the live action version. So that was a really fun experience. Very special to go through all those in one weekend with them. Then we have a few more down here, some newer ones. Cruising 4K, Dark City 4K, another big one from last year. The Mask, and In the Mouth of Madness, which I had a good time with. Just watched that one recently in January, and I think that's all the new ones. This is getting a re-release here in the States this year. I had to get this, I had to import this from the UK, but now you can buy it in Region A, which is very cool. So if you missed out on that one and you didn't want to import the UK version, you can now get it in the States, which is really cool. Here is my Curzon collection. They're just four so far. There is the Michael Haneke one, but I don't know if I want to get that one or not. Here's the Three Colors trilogy. Here is the Ruben Östlund collection. There's the Bela Tarr collection. I think that's all of his films. And then Lars von Trier, which is all of his films except one, so I had to pick this one up here separately. It is Dancer in the Dark. Another one that I picked up last year. New release. Imported it. Found it in the Orbit store while we were visiting. Also this one. Nice Guys. You can get, well actually let's go ahead and jump right into my second sight collection, which is very small. Again, they don't put out too many releases that appeal to me, but when they do put out a release of a movie that I love or a movie that I'm interested in checking out, I kind of have to get it at this point because they do the most definitive boutique releases of all of the labels. This right here was my number 2 release from last year. I had such a great time going through all of the hours and hours of special features on this release. Archival interviews, new interviews, 2 different commentaries, behind the scenes documentary with the director, and just this massive book, huge book with like 10 essays in it. Read through every single one of them. Loved this release. Spent so much time with this movie. One of my new favorites. So happy that they put out the Florida Project. Also Tangerine, I watched for the first time last year. Picked that one up as well. Christmas movie set in LA by the same director, Sean Baker. Really, really great release as well. I did get my hands on The Possession before it sold out super, super quick. Haven't had a chance to go through that one yet, but really looking forward to it. That one is even bigger of a release. It has 2 giant books in there, including the script and a bunch of discs in a digipack. Well, let's just go through my second sight releases. We've got Nice Guys, new one from last year. Picnic and Hanging Rock, finally tracked that one down. That was a long time holy grail of mine, and it is beautiful. We got The Color of Pomegranates. We've talked about Tangerine, Possession, Florida Project, and Heimat, which was another one we picked up at Orbit last year. I haven't had time to dive into this one yet because that is an extended mini-series. I think it's like 12 or 15 hours. It's going to take a lot of time, but I've heard that it's worth it. I've heard that it is a very rewarding experience, and I hope to get to that sometime soon. And then this one I haven't talked about at all yet on the channel, but this was a very recent acquisition. Another one that I've been wanting for a long time. One of my favorite movies, one of my favorite filmmakers, In Bruges. Such a great movie and such a definitive release from Second Sight here. Includes the script in there. Very, very nice release. And I was able to get that with some Christmas money from my family. So thank you guys for that. We also have the Jackie Chan Project A box set that I added last year, and Tank Girl, another new one that we added last year. And that is now getting a 4K from Vinegar Syndrome. And then we get into another one of my absolute favorite boutique labels, another UK label like Second Sight, like Curzon. We've got Eureka, and they just put out some absolutely fantastic box sets. Really love their stuff. Love this one. This is the Buster Keaton Complete Short Films box set. Then we have another new one that I added to the collection over the Christmas break, which I haven't had a chance to watch yet or even talk about on the channel. This is the Fantomas series, 3 films that I'm really looking forward to diving into soon. I have a plan for that one, so hopefully I can get to that one soon. We've got the Buster Keaton set that I just picked up, and Johnny Guitar right next to it. All of these found on eBay secondhand because these are all out of print. Mothra, complete limited edition, and then the Louis Feuillade box set, which is incredible. So cool that they put out all of his serials in one complete definitive set like that. Very nice release. We've got the African Queen as well, the Andrzej Zulawski films, 3 of his films, not including Possession, so that's not in that set, so I'm glad I have it from Second Sight, and then I have 3 of his other most famous films in that set. We've got the Mabusa Lives box set, also added last year, and then the Vampire box set. Haven't talked about this one on the channel yet, but really excited to add that one to the collection. I do have this movie from Criterion, but I really wanted to track down this box set for the book in there that you get, and also for the audio commentary by Guillermo del Toro, one of my favorite filmmakers, and he did a commentary for that release specifically. Very cool that Eureka got him to do that. So there's my small but mighty Eureka section, and I cannot wait to add more to that. They've already announced some stuff this year that I'm so excited about. The General is coming to 4K from Buster Keaton, and Danger Diabolic is getting a 4K box set that'll look just like one of these ones. So I can't wait to add those to the collection. Those will be coming out soon. I will definitely be pre-ordering those ones. Down here we got a very small BFI collection. I thought about just leaving those in the colored section because there's not that many, but they look pretty good next to the indicator selection, which we'll get into in just a minute here. BFI got Carl Theodore Dreyer's collection of films. We also have the Woodfall collection, which we picked up again in that trip out to Orbit DVD, and Marlene Dietrich collection that we also found that day. 4 films from 40 to 1942. And then we have the indicator section, which has grown so much this year. Just last month, we had the January indicator sale at Barnes & Noble, and I did a collaboration with them, and they sent me quite a few titles from their selection, and I just talked about these recently. We had a lot of Jean Roland films that we added to this collection, and then we also had Santo and some other Mexican films that they've been releasing recently. So those were nice. Always have the Sinbad collection here and the other Harryhausen box sets, which we'll get to in just a minute. Love those. Those are classics. We'll never get rid of those. We have the Mae West set that we added last year. Beautiful set of Mae West films. And the John Ford set. 4 films by John Ford. These ones I've had for a while, so you've already seen these. I picked this one up in the store when we went sale hunting. Made a video of that, so you've already seen that one. El Vampiro, 2 Mexican vampire films. And this was another one I added to the collection just last year. The 5 films by Bud Bedecker. 5 Westerns. This is a beautiful set. I love the look of that one. Marlene Dietrich. This is another amazing set. Now these 5 films you can get from Criterion, but I much prefer this set from Indicator. And I am actually in the middle of watching through this entire set with Grace. We have watched 4 of the 6 films in that set, so we're about to finish it. Really enjoying that. Those movies are great. That is Josef von Sternberg and Marlene Dietrich collaborations from 30 to 35. And then here we have the other 2 Harryhausen sets, which look incredible. The artwork on these is amazing. 3 films in each of these volumes. And then the Sinbad films are we already covered those over there. Just a few more films down here. The Swimmer is one of my favorite movies, and they have a beautiful release of that. And then a few more individual films here, including another Marlene Dietrich right there. Not a Sternberg, but a film that she did around the same time period. She took a break from Sternberg and did a film called The Song of Songs. And then we get into the Radiance collection, which does go down a little bit to the next shelf here, but we'll start up here. We've got the Commedia all'Italiana box set, which is one of the coolest things that Radiance has done. And this is the first Radiance title I think I ever got. This box set I really wanted because I love Il Sorpasso. It's another one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite summer movies, one of my favorite road trip movies, and one of my favorite actors. Jean-Louis Trintignant is in that film. And he's a French actor, but that is an Italian film. And then we have a Greek film right next to it with The Ogre of Athens. We have the crime set, Cosa Nostra. The Shinobi box set, which I just covered in my last video. Check that one out if you haven't. That's a great set. And some individual releases here. Some newer ones. 4K of Palindromes. Viva la Muerte, Dogra Magra, Themrock, and Iphigenia are 2 new ones. And then Planet of the Vampires, one of my favorite releases they've ever done. Beautiful release, filmed by Mario Bava. And just a stellar release from them. The booklet is amazing. There's also there's 2 booklets in this. You get the thicker booklet on the outside, and then inside the Skinavo case you get a second booklet that has the source material, the short story that the film is based on. More individual Radiance titles down here. Some still that I need to check out. And then we have the Nothing is Sacred box set, the World Noir Volume 1, Die Gothic Volume 1. There's a Volume 2 now out that I really want to get my hands on. And then 2 of my absolute favorite releases from Radiance. We have Haxan, one of my favorite movies, and then Malpertuis. Perfect releases, definitive releases of those films. And then we have my tiny little Studio Canal section, which is very small. Just a few films here, but all great films. We've got The Wicker Man in this oversized, massive box set right here. And then we also have The Third Man. So kind of bookending the collection, we have these 2 big hardbox releases, definitive 4K releases of The Wicker Man and The Third Man. And then in the middle, we've got the Lady Killers, which I just added to the collection recently, also 4K. And another 4K release, The Lavender Hill Mob. Really enjoyed this one. And then we've got Kind Hearts and Coronets as well. This is just a Blu-ray, not a 4K, unfortunately, but it is in the Criterion collection and stuck on DVD in the Criterion collection. So this is still the best way that you can own that movie. And then we've got 4K for Lion in Winter. Then we've got the Grand Illusion Blu-ray, another one that's stuck on DVD in the Criterion collection, but hopefully they can change that soon. Then we've got The Man in the White Suit and Dead of Night, 2 more 4K releases that came out right at the end of last year. And then we move from Studio Canal to another small section here. I only have a few releases from Umbrella but they are all amazing. Incredible releases from Umbrella. Starting with, well, this is just a smaller one. This is Spirits of the Air, Gremlins of the Clouds. That's older. I had that from a couple years ago, got that through Vinegar Syndrome. But these are all collector's editions from Umbrella, and you have to get these through Umbrella's website. They don't sell these to the American distributors, and these are all some of my absolute favorite experiences from last year. Science of Sleep, I loved going through that film. That was a great discovery. This one too would have been on my top 10 of the year, but this actually came out the year before. Les Yeux Sans Visage, that is Eyes Without a Face. This is the newest one that I've added to the collection, The Fire Within. Haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. 10 Canoes, Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring, and then The Fall, which was my #1 release from last year, Edged Out Florida Project. One of my favorite movies of all time, and one of the most definitive 4K box sets I've ever seen. Got to get The Fall. I don't know if it's still in print, but if it is, grab it. It's amazing. And then you've got Super Mario Brothers, the absolute brick of a release right there. Then we have our imprint collection. We get into the imprint stuff. Like I said earlier, I've been working with imprint over the last year and have acquired several of their beautiful box sets. So I'm very thankful for the work I've been able to do with them, and hopefully we can continue that on in this year as well. I am having to slow down with their releases, though. I'm not requesting or accepting as many as I was last year because they take up so much space on the shelf. So I'm really pulling back and just getting the ones that I really, really am interested in. This is one of my favorites, The Odd Couple, one of my favorite movies of all time, and it also includes the sequel. And we have The Man Who Would Be King. That was a recent addition last year. I had such a great viewing of that with a couple friends of mine. That is a great movie. That holds up really well. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, another 4K that came out last year with a beautiful lenticular hardbox. They do great work with those. Then we have a couple of Martin Scorsese box sets, New York, New York, and then his trilogy of Faith films. We have another one of the Tales of Adventure collection box sets. We'll see those again. There's another one right here with volume 5. And we've got the Susie Wong set. Jade is one of the newest releases that they just sent me. 4K of Jade. Grace and I have watched that, and I'll be covering that on the channel soon. Flesh and Fantasy and Dead of Night. Another one of the better releases I had last year. G.I. Jane, again, brand new 4K that they just put out. Haven't had a chance to watch that one yet, but we did watch Jade, and we did watch The Last Seduction. Those both came at the same time. And then there's a few others here. Last Exit of Brooklyn, Carrie on 4K. And then we have my very small Flicker Alley collection, but I absolutely love this collection. They put out some great stuff from Flicker Alley. A lot of older stuff from the 20s and 30s, like silent era stuff, early Hollywood stuff that the other labels aren't putting out. Some of the labels put out some of the big names like Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin stuff, but Flicker Alley goes into more hidden gems, deep cut stuff. They have Nanak of the North, which is stuck on DVD from the Criterion collection, so that's nice to get that upgraded to Blu-ray. Also, a better version than the Criterion version is the King of Kings release, which they put a Blu-ray out of. The original King of Kings from 1927, the silent version. One of my favorite releases from last year, He Who Gets Slapped. Fantastic release. So really good stuff coming out from Flicker Alley. Always got to recommend their Georges Méliès Fairy Tales collection. So don't sleep on Flicker Alley. They are a really, really solid boutique label. They put out some great releases, and they don't put out things too often. So it is a little bit easier to keep up with them than some of the other labels that are cranking stuff out every single month, multiple releases. So love Flicker Alley. Got to give them a shout out. And then we go to another one of my favorite boutique labels, Deaf Crocodile. This is a label that I have been working with since here. I think this was the first release they sent me. I actually have these in spine number order because I have every single Deaf Crocodile release, and they almost take up a whole shelf by themselves. This is the first label I ever worked with. I reached out to them. I don't think they were working with anyone else at the time, but I really liked their stuff, and I really wanted to work with them, so I reached out to them just on a whim. Did not think they were going to respond, but they did, and they have been amazing. Working with them has been great over the years, and I have found so many hidden gems and little treasures of foreign, international cinema, world cinema that I had never heard of before, but really, really great movies that need a little bit more attention. So I'm glad Deaf Crocodile is doing this. They're doing the Lord's work. I've already done a full video going over the entire original Vinegar Syndrome run of releases from Deaf Crocodile, so I won't talk about those again, but I do have to call out the Alexander Tushko box set that they did, because that is amazing. The coolest release they've done. But then they've been doing great stuff ever since then with their new hard box style packaging ever since they went independent. I'll call out some of my favorites here as we go through. The Outcasts, absolutely one of my favorites. Feel a Day and The Golden Fern, all three of those right in a row. Gwen and the Book of Sand, one of my favorite releases from last year. Such a great experience with that film. Inflatable Sex in All the Wastelands. That was really surprising. I got a lot out of that one as well. And then we have another 3 in a row perfect releases here. The Devil's Bride, the Pied Piper release, and all the other short films by Jerzy Barta. And then the second volume of the Soviet animation set was great. I watched all 3 of the films in this set, and including The Snow Queen, which is just a perfect animated film. Also really enjoyed these 2 recently. Haven't had a chance to talk to them yet, but they are coming soon. I'm going to cover these in an upcoming video, but the Soviet Animation Volume 3 is exceptional. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And then White Sun of the Desert was a really fun action adventure movie that I was not expecting. I really had a great time with that one. Then we have a couple Vinegar Syndrome releases down here. I don't collect too much Vinegar Syndrome, just a few. We've got mostly VSU releases with Beastmaster, Cloak and Dagger, Sidekicks, and Daryl. We've got The Tenant, another one of my favorite releases from last year. Had a great time with that one. Wasn't expecting to like that one as much as I did. Fantastic packaging on that one too. Then we have The Keep. Shout out to Timothy, who sent me a copy of The Keep. Very thankful for that, because that was a great release and a fun movie. I actually had a good time with it. Sad because it's an incomplete movie and we'll never see the full film as it was intended, but I had a good enough time with it. And then we have a few cinematograph releases here. I don't have too many of those anymore. I used to have Red Rock West. I traded that one for the Third Man release right there, and I'm happy about that trade. Maybe someday I'll buy the Umbrella release of Red Rock West, because I did enjoy the movie, but for now, I don't have the film anymore. And then a tiny little Shout Select section. I don't buy very many Shout releases, but I have a few releases there from Shout. Magnificent Seven, Fargo, Clue, The Plague Dogs, and The Holdovers. And then I just have 3 releases from Severin. Severin, another label that I don't pick up very many releases from, but I love Santa Sangre. It's one of my favorite movies. And Delicatessen, one of my new favorite movies. That just came out last year. Very happy that they put out a release for that. And Captain Invincible is a really fun superhero parody movie. I can't believe they put out a boutique Blu-ray release of that. So that is it. That is my middle boutique section. We've still got the Criterion stuff over there. We've still got some other boutique labels down there on the bottom, but this is the bulk of my boutique collection. Some of my favorite boutique labels, some of my favorite releases in my collection, but there is still some fat that needs to be trimmed here and there. I'm going to be doing some thinning out of some of the shelves. The imprint stuff, I've got to thin out a little bit. I'll be thinning out some other stuff here and there, so hoping to get some of that stuff up on eBay soon to sell off and make way for some new releases, because there's lots of great stuff coming out this year that we already know about that I need to make some space for. All right, let's get into the Criterion stuff over here on the far right. This has been the Criterion shelf for a couple of years now, and it is almost full. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, this has not changed too much because I only buy Criterions twice a year in the Barnes & Noble sales, but we'll go through and call out some of the new releases. Here's a new one right here, the Abbas Kiarostami set that I have not had time to go through yet, but I am very much looking forward to that selection of children's films and documentaries that he made. Then we've got a lot of classic stuff that I've had for a while here. Some of my favorites. I think my Winnipeg is a newer release, a newer addition to the collection. That is the one that I don't hear very many people talk about. We've also got Barry Lyndon, which was a new 4K release at the end of last year. The Walt Stillman trilogy was a new addition to the collection last year. We've also got The Furies, which I bought in the July sale last year. Yes, by the way, I do keep them sealed until I get a chance to watch them. Some people get annoyed about that, but I like to keep them in brand new condition until I get a chance to watch them, because sometimes a 4K will drop before you get a chance to actually watch something, and then I'll have to sell it or trade it in or something. So I like to keep them sealed. This is a new release that came out towards the end of last year, or maybe mid last year. I didn't get it until towards the end of last year. That was sent to me by Sean. I think he picked it up in the November sale, so that was very, very nice of him. And then coming down here to the next shelf. These are all in color order still, by the way. I haven't changed them yet, but I think I'm going to, because I do not like what they look like by color. The rest of the shelves look okay, but the Criterion spines have so much color going on that it doesn't really have the same effect. I don't like what it looks like. I think I'm going to eventually move to putting them in spine number order, just because I think it would be really cool to have like a record of all the films that Criterion has put out over the years. So I'm probably going to be rearranging this section here pretty soon. This is my favorite Criterion release, or one of my favorites. This is an absolutely beautiful box set. The Trilogia de Guillermo del Toro, 3 films by one of my favorite directors. Another one of my absolute favorite directors, Pasolini 101. We just got this release last year, and I watched through this entire box set last year with a couple friends of mine, and we had a great discussion on the channel. If you missed that, love his work. What else do we have here? The Fanny and Alexander box set for Ingmar Bergman. I got that to watch over the Christmas season because it is a mini-series, but the first episode takes place all at Christmas time. Any other new releases here yet? I think these are all pretty old. These have been in my collection for a while. Brazil, one of my favorite releases from last year. Got a 4K upgrade and really enjoyed going through that film again. Loved it a lot more on the second viewing than I did on the first viewing. What else do we have over here? French Dispatch. One of the best releases from last year. One of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe my favorite Wes Anderson movie. And I'm so glad it got such a deluxe, premium looking edition with some extras in there that Criterion doesn't usually do. Then we have the original Godzilla film, 4K upgrade that came out recently. 3 Fantastic Journeys by Carol Zeman, who I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Another one of my favorite directors, mixed media animation director. Paper Moon was the year before last, but I have to shout it out because it's amazing. One of my favorite new discoveries over the last couple of years. Then we have the Marcel Marseille trilogy, which was a new addition to the collection last year. Like that little box set. Mishima, one of my favorite releases from 2025. The 4K looks stunning. The movie is amazing, and there's a lot of supplements to dig into as well, including a full commentary. Trouble in Paradise from Ernst Lubitsch, one of my wife and I's favorite director. We love watching through Lubitsch's stuff. This is stuck on DVD for now, but it is getting a 4K upgrade very soon, later this year, so we will be upgrading that one for sure, because we love some Ernst Lubitsch. Another new one here, we have History of Violence, with a very interesting cover art. Ratcatcher I added last year to the collection. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Grace picked up. One of her new favorite movies. She had a wonderful experience with that film, and she can't wait to show it to me. Burden of Dreams got a 4K last year. All of these are falling over now, but Woman of Paris, I think that was last year as well. So very cool to have more Charlie Chaplin in the collection. Always appreciate it. Let's see. This is Spinal Tap. I saw for the first time last year. That was a very special release from Criterion Collection. R.I.P. Rob Reiner. We had such a great time with that. That's Christopher Guest again, not directing, of course, but starring, and then going on to make more films just like that, which we love. A bunch of other stuff here. Chungking Express was one of my favorite releases from last year. I meant to do like a top 10 Criterions of 2025, just never got around to it, but that would have been on the list. Princess Bride 4K, I mentioned earlier. I just showed that to my kids for the first time, and they loved it. Compensation was a new one. Breakfast Club 4K was a new one. Also got these upgraded to 4K, which is really nice. Fires on the Plain and the Burmese Harp. Clooney Brown was a new release. from Ernst Lubitsch. I got a really cool package, again from Sean, and that was included in there, Clooney Brown, as well as the Apu trilogy on 4K, which I'm so excited to dive into. There it is, the full Apu trilogy, one that I've had on my wish list for a long time. So excited to finally own that one. That came out a few years ago now. And then we've just got one last row here of Criterion releases. Nightmare Alley, another one of my top 10 releases of last year. Had a blast going through that movie. Liked it even better than I did when it came out a few years back. Actually, I guess that was 5 years ago now already. That was 2021. One of my favorite Guillermo del Toro films. One of my favorite Criterion releases. Really, really like that movie. Time Bandits got a 4K upgrade recently. That was another one that was in the package from Sean, so thank you so much. And then all the other standard black cased Criterion releases all across the bottom here. There's a few more releases from other boutique labels here. I just have 4 from Twilight Time, which is another boutique label that went out of business, sadly. And then I have 2 releases from Cohen Media, which is like a sub-label of Kino Lorber. You'll see I have no Kino Lorber up here. I had to move the Kino Lorbers and the Warner Archives to another section. I had to move these over here because I just ran out of space, and these all look nice together. They all look the same, they all have the same spines. So I moved these over to a different shelf. But getting back to this, we've got some BFI right here on the end. Just a few more. I guess I could technically add those to the boutique shelf, but for right now, they're just sitting here. This is just kind of filler down here on the bottom. I'm assuming eventually, obviously, the Criterion's going to fill up this whole shelf, but until that happens, I've got some random stuff down here on the bottom, including my very small Second Run collection. We talked about Second Sight, but now we have Second Run, which is a really cool label from overseas. They put out mostly Czech films and Hungarian films, like this example right here, this Hungarian Masters collection. I had a great time going through this, especially the first 2 films, Merry-Go-Round and Current. I loved them. I wasn't crazy about Agnus Dei, but the first 2 films I loved, especially Merry-Go-Round. That's such a good movie. And then I got another box set here from Jerzy Skolimowski, who I didn't call out, but one of my favorite movies ever is Deep End right there from Skolimowski, same director, and he has a 3-film box set from Second Run right here, which I haven't had a chance to dive into yet. That's the theme of this video. So much stuff to get to, so much stuff on the watch list. And then we have Classic Flicks, which is another label that I've started working with recently. I've really enjoyed going back and forth with them. They've sent me a few releases here. This one they did not send me. I bought this one because this is incredible. The Little Rascals complete collection. Been watching these with the kids. They both loved Little Rascals, and this is such a definitive, unique, perfect box set. I highly recommend everybody get their hands on that. The restorations look amazing for how old these films are. Speaking of my kids, we also watched Jack and the Beanstalk, starring Abbott and Costello. And then we've also got Hop Along Cassidy, Volume 1, some classic B-movie westerns that I really enjoyed when I watched through those. The new Laurel and Hardy set, and Aesop's Fables. There's a sub-label of Classic Flicks called Cartoon Logic. They just started with Volume 1, and I can't wait to see what else comes out of that label. Another tiny label that I only have 3 releases from. We've already talked about The Bloody Lady, but I also have The Juniper Tree and Son of the White Mare, one of the best animated movies of all time, and I hope we get a Deaf Crocodile release of this at some point. It's by Marcel Yankovic, and they've already released 2 of his other masterpieces, so hopefully at some point we get Son of the White Mare. But this is a very good release. I have no problems with this release for now. It is great. Arbelos does great work as well. And then we have 4 little releases here from Oscilloscope Labs, which is another really great label that I just haven't had time to prioritize and get more of their stuff. But they have It's a Disaster, one of my favorite comedies of all time, Lost in Paris, another great comedy, Going All the Way, and Clara Sola. There are other titles from them that I hope to get in the future, but there's just too many labels and too much stuff coming out, so I haven't been able to prioritize them. Then we got my Paramount Presents collection, Court Jester, right there. Probably one of my favorites. Oh, and King Creole, right there. Elvis's best movie. Really great noir, directed by Michael Curtiz. We've also got the 4K stuff, also by Paramount Presents. To Catch a Thief is the newest addition to that collection. Actually, no, this is the newest edition, The Nutty Professor. I just found this the other weekend when we were at 2nd and Charles. So haven't had a chance to watch that one yet, but there's a couple other 4Ks in here. Terms of Endearment, Election, Primal Fear, and Bringing Out the Dead, another Martin Scorsese movie. He's been getting a lot of boutique releases lately. Then I have my G-Kids collection here. Most of these are Studio Ghibli movies, but some are not. We also have A Cat in Paris, which is a French movie. And we also have Tales of the Night, which is an animated film, also French, directed by Michel Ocelot, who does really great, unique animation. I wish we had more releases of his films. Kiriko and the Sorceress is probably my favorite film of his that I've seen. I need to see more of his stuff, but he does awesome work. Speaking of animation, in G-Kids, we've got the Irish Folklore trilogy. All three of these are amazing. We've got The Secret of Kells, Song of the Sea, and Wolfwalkers. Great kids films, also just family films in general. The kids and the adults will love those films. They're so good. Then we've got The Wizard of Oz. This is what I was talking about earlier, the Ultimate Edition that we got released here with the steelbook and everything. Such a cool package inside. I wish they would do more of those. Come on, Warner Brothers. Put more of those out in the United States, not just the UK, so I don't have to import them or buy them from scalpers on eBay. Just a couple other random things here at the bottom just to fill in the space, like I said. So I've got some Warner Brothers releases, and I've got some Universal releases with the Alfred Hitchcock sets, and their, like I said, hardbox Wave 1 that they did, and they never did any more. Wish they would do more of those. Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, and then just some Paramount releases, and then a couple Film Movement from Vinegar Syndrome. Just some random stuff down there. I'll have to move this stuff around as I get more Criterions to fill in the bottom shelf, but that's what the shelves look like right now. We've got the colored shelf, we've got the boutique shelf, and then we've got the Criterion shelf over here. I am losing my voice because I've been talking for so long, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. So there you go, guys. That is my entire Blu-ray and 4K shelf tour. Hopefully you enjoyed me going through all of that. Hopefully it was helpful for you. Maybe you saw some releases that you didn't know about and you want to add to your collection as well. Ask me any questions you have in the comments down below and I'll try to answer as many as I can. If you want to watch last year's tour video and see how much the shelves have changed in just 1 year, you can click this video right here. But that's all I got for you today in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again with more videos very soon, but until then, keep collecting.